Welcome to today's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast, your channel for super easy, no-nonsense advice on how to declutter and organise your home. Please welcome your hosts, professional organisers Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome listeners to episode 46 of the Declutter Hub podcast. I'm Ingrid. If you have clutter and want to sort it out, this is the show for you. In today's episode, we're talking to Rivka Caroline, owner of So Be Organised, working in Miami, Florida. Rivka is an author, motivational speaker, an influential motivator, and an expert in productivity and all things organized. Rivka is the author of From Frazzled to Focused, which was listed on the New York Times parenting blog at Motherload as a top 10 must-read for parents. She also created the Focus Finder Planner Pad. Since earning her master's in psychology, Rivka has taught hundreds of the busiest people in the universe how to make more time for what they love. Rivka loves the relationship between time management and positive psychology and firmly believes that it takes more effort to be disorganized than it does to be organized. I had the pleasure of hearing Rivka speak at the conference of the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers here in the UK, and I loved her practical tips for organizing the disorganized family. Welcome to the show, Rivka.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here.
Lovely to be here.
We first need to tell our listeners, where are we?
Okay, we are in Chigwell, Essex, in a beautiful country garden where I run away to every afternoon when I'm here in England with my family, and I'm so happy that we're here.
Me too, and it's one of the warmest days.
We are very positively sweating away here.
So if you hear any kind of trees rustling in the background, any other kind of country noises, then you understand that we're actually recording this outside. But we did a little test and I think we're good on sound. So wonderful. Let's hope. Yes. Rivka, I'm delighted I'm talking to you today, and I can't wait to delve deeper into your practical tips, because this podcast is all about keeping it real and giving our listeners advice they can put into action so they feel less overwhelmed and more in control of their lives. But first, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and how you ended up writing a book?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a mum of 7. I know.
Yes, listeners,
crazy. It's true.
You did hear that, correct, listeners?
Correct. Now they're age 10 through 25. But 10 years ago, they weren't. So basically, when I had 3 children, I was very overwhelmed. That was a good 20 years ago. And believe it or not, this was the times before Google search and before podcasts, before Instagram, before Facebook. Can you imagine? And I didn't know how to run my home. I knew I wasn't lazy, but I didn't understand how all the mechanics fell into place. So I took myself to Barnes & Noble's back in the day, and I remember looking for, something like the mum's guide to running the home in a sensible and practical manner. And believe it or not, I couldn't find it. I found humorous books, which were funny, but I really wanted the nuts and bolts. I found there was a big divide. There was the business, any business advice I wanted was right there on the bookshelves. But anything practical, the meal planning, all the bits, all the boring and predictable that I talk about, I couldn't find it. So all I did is I took the business books and I translated it. So, project management, it became meal management. And instead of, this team member, it became, the oldest child. And I kind of translated it for myself into efficient ways to run my home because I was busy, but I wasn't focused.
Okay.
And then, like anything else, once I found a rhythm to live my own life in a practical way, it kind of felt like someone who had the 90% off vouchers. I couldn't help but start sharing it. And then, eventually, I started my career and I wrote the book. So that's how it all started.
So you're actually not a professional organizer, but you are an organized person who wrote a book. Or are you a professional organizer? What would you call yourself?
It's funny. I don't know. I love productivity. I love clever systems. I love to outsmart things. I love things working I love leaving the house when there are 6 machines going. I love all of that. And I love saving people time, very, very much so. I don't actually know what I call myself. I call myself a productivity expert.
One of the things you mention in your book as well is that you say it takes more effort to be disorganized than it does to be organized. And how did you come to that conclusion?
Absolutely. So when I was deep in the trenches myself, I was always busy. I was always overwhelmed. I never could sit on the couch knowing that things were under control. There was always another fire to put out. And I was exhausted from my own fires. Then when I got things together and there was a predictability and a rhythm and the boring, stable systems, I was fully able to sit on the couch knowing the dinner was in the oven, the washing was in the washing machine. There was a method to my madness. And that's how I realized, I think, honestly, I tell people I'm not organized by nature, even though I have a great appreciation for being organized. I'm a big fan of later. I'll do it later, like a very well-intentioned laterist, But I think, honestly, my love of sitting on the couch made me organized.
So, be truthful here. How many times actually? How much do you sit on the couch? Actually,
I don't sit on the couch. But what I do, because of my lovely systems, is I try and make Wednesday my home day. Okay. I try, because if I don't create a system. This is my big belief in general. If I don't make a system, it won't happen. So me sitting on the couch is never going to happen. But if Wednesday's a home day, or I have, let's say, phone clients and I'm home, there is more chance that I will actually get to that wonderful couch with a book and a blanket.
But that's, in the end, that's what we all want, don't we?
That's what, and that's what I want for my mums also. When I see mums working so hard, I want that for them too. Really and truly. Yeah. It all comes down to the couch.
So you thought about and you wrote the book when you had 3 children. You had another 4 after
that. No, I think I began the book with 3, ended the book with 6. So the book must have taken about 5 years.
So you're obviously using your own advice, because I don't think I know anybody else but so many. I mean, it used to be normal. I mean, my mother is one of 7. My mother-in-law is one of 16, believe it or not.
Yeah. Wow. Why aren't we interviewing her? I want to hear those systems. No, 6. Well, you know what? They say that the human memory can hold 7 items. So I figured if I want to remember everyone's name, I have to stop at 7.
And you've got a grandchild now.
I have a grandchild.
Oh, congratulations.
That is really the fun. All the fun without any responsibility. Talk about outsourcing. Wonderful.
I'm sure you don't look old enough to be a grandmother. That's worrying me. I'm like, oh my God. Now, let's go back to your book, because I really, really enjoyed your book.
I'm so happy.
I think it's excellent advice. I love all your humor in it as well. I think it's so funny. And talking to you now, I understand why your book is written the way it is, because you're a very humorous and fun person.
Thank you.
So, but what I really liked about your book is the classic 10 systems, and you call them predictable and boring.
So boring.
But I agree with you. I think you can declutter all you want, and shopping and then decluttering again, and organize it all. But if you don't have those systems in place, then you're going to end up keeping decluttering and organizing and being on that.
Exactly. As I say in my book, we don't get organized to get more organized. Meaning, somebody might say, well, my cans are all organized, but if I have time, I'll put them in ABC order. And if I can, I'll color code them. That's not being organized. That's a false sense of control. And that's where my psychology background really has helped me also. Yeah. It's not about any of that. People can drive themselves crazy. And I never make jokes. Some people say, oh, I'm so OCD. I never say that, because there's a real condition. But some people really can get in over their heads in terms of organizing. Yeah. What I really felt, and I still feel, is that our grandmothers had it. They had this steady rhythm of running a home. They always knew what they were defrosting. They always knew when laundry day was. They always knew when the deep cleaning was. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that we all get the choice to run businesses and do all we want. The thing is that I see mums, who that's the basis of my business is mums, incredibly burnt out. And I am a big believer of having our cake and eat it too, but sometimes the cake has to be bought, sometimes the cake has to be preset, sometimes the cake has to be frozen. But I don't want any mum driving home, whether from work or driving home from carpool, wondering what's for dinner. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people ask me the same thing. Ingrid, how come you're so organized? Because I have all these systems in place, and because I really am a person that is practical and down to earth, I thought, we can talk about the beautifully organized cabinet.
Of course.
That's lovely. But I want to talk about these 10 systems that actually are going to help our listeners to get control about their lives. So we're just going to do them in order.
But before we jump in, I just want to say one thing to our listeners. Don't try and take on 10. Today, because what happens is, and it's really funny, my whole book I wrote so much, and the 2 pages that got the most attention was the 2 pages on perfectionism. And I think we do have a silent epidemic going on. And so what I want to say to our listeners is choose one. Choose one of the 10, conquer it, have it sustainable. So it takes 30 days to develop a new habit. Okay, so if you're winging it after a week and you're liberated, wonderful, go on to the next one. But I don't want any listener here to say, well, if I haven't got all 10 done by tomorrow, I'm a failure.
Good advice. So definitely take that on board, listeners. So let's start with number one.
Number one.
Meal planning.
Meal planning. Okay. So here's the thing about meal planning that is just terrible, is the children have to eat every day. It's like, really, again? And my mum say, I have no idea what to make. And I say to them, but you've made dinners for 10 years. And it's really, make if you want to be spontaneous, have your weekend spontaneous. You've got more time. Just get the Monday through Thursday. Get the Monday through Friday taken care of. Think of things that your family has enjoyed. Even 3 things. 3 things, and then do something simple. Some families do takeout. I had a friend in dental school that got takeout, different genres, 4 nights a week. You don't have to be good at everything. Now in the world of YouTube, if you are a bad cook, you can become a good enough cook. It will take you 7 minutes to learn a certain recipe. But the one thing that I ask mums not to do is make dinner into a perfect conquest of the perfect dinner and the perfectly balanced meal. That's you can if you want to take Wednesdays off and experiment at home, that's fine. But we need a good enough dinner plan. A good enough. If you're a meat eater, it can be, chicken and sweet potatoes. Like my children know, this is going to be it forever. When you come home with the grandchildren, it will be the same dinner. Or if you're, this is what's also hard, we're so individual. Some people say, but if you make me boring, you're holding my hands. You're holding my hands behind my back. I say, fine. If you're a meat eater, make Monday night's chicken. Or if you're not a meat eater, make it pasta. At least you've narrowed down the decision making. And so some people will thrive on a predictable and boring routine. Others will thrive knowing that that's the genre. But what I say to mums is think of the 4 favourite meals the children have enjoyed. And you can also ask the children. They will be your harshest critics. And if your children are very, very picky, you can do a 3-day meal plan and keep rotating. It could be that everyone will be very, very happy.
So do you make a meal plan before you, like an evening before you go to the shops, and then you think, right, on Monday is chicken, what kind of chicken are we doing? On Tuesday is beef, and on Wednesday is pasta.
Yes, very much. Well, I have a basic rhythm, just a basic rhythm for our family. I know the list. I'm very boring. The children know that. I'll do, let's say chicken on a Monday, so I'll just vary the sauces. It will be with sweet potatoes or whatever. There'll always be a soup because I can throw them in the soup makers. It's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. There'll be rice in the rice cooker or quinoa in the rice cooker, and it just flows. And then that way, if someone's like, I don't want chicken, there's no drama. I think that was a big quest of mine also, just the drama-free living. No problem, have a sandwich with soup. No problem. I think life throws enough drama at us. It's our job to try and kind of...
So basically what we're trying to achieve with a meal plan is to prevent asking yourself at 5 to 6 when everybody's hungry, what's for dinner?
Including mum herself. How can we, and this is something that I just came up with myself, how can we respond and not react when we're starving? They say, call in America hangry, hungry and angry, So
people who know me are laughing now in their cars or wherever they're listening to this podcast because I am absolutely the example of hangry.
That's not true. You're the nicest person.
I cannot function when I'm hungry because I get angry.
Yeah, no, it 100% true. So it's about also practically speaking, listeners right now. Take a bottom of a tissue box, write the 4 dinners that your children enjoyed that were not crazy to make. Okay? You don't have to start bulk freezing. Just write it down on a back of that tissue box or a piece of paper and stick it on your fridge. I think a big part of these systems also is getting things out of mum's brain. We carry so much information. It's unfair. Mm-hmm. Put it on a piece of paper. Make sure it looks good. Make sure it's doable. And then create your shopping list. And that's your week 1. And then practice for a week and see. Some families will feel so liberated. They'll want that again and again and again. Other families will say, oh, Mum, can you please not make sweet and sour chicken again? Oh, sure, I'll make apricot chicken. No problem. You can have your variety, and it's so personal. Yeah. And then I hear the mums saying, but I love to make a lovely dinner. Wonderful. That's your Wednesday. Choose a day for you to experiment, but but if you've got a choice between experimenting or taking care of yourself or doing that yoga class you've been telling yourself you'll do for 5 years, just question how important that meal is.
Yeah. And also I think if you do decide that Wednesday is the experiment and the fancy dinner day, don't come running in from a club with your kids at 5:30 if you want to have dinner at 6 o'clock.
100%.
That's not going to work.
Absolutely.
So if you actually think a fancy dinner is a lot more time to prepare, maybe you need to move that to the weekend and have the takeaway you normally have on a Saturday move to the Wednesday because it works better for you, right?
Yes. If you've got experiment day, then at least have something in the freezer as backup, and then you might say, oh, I will go to coffee with a friend. And that actually is what I want our mums to do. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's all, I always like to have options.
Good. You mentioned shopping plans. So I think because, of course, that's connected to meal planning.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about shopping plans?
Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of English shops because you have wonderful delivery services. Mm-hmm. And I just want to take a moment, and mums, if you love shopping, don't listen to this part. Okay, we'll come back in 2 minutes. Please understand that shopping is an incredible amount of energy. Okay, you get out of your car, you take a shopping trolley, you put everything that you need in the trolley, from the trolley to the checkout, from the checkout back to the trolley into the car into the house. So that item's been moved 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just ask you to think if you would consider getting any of the home deliveries, because that's an hour of your time.
Yeah.
And for some mums, that's the difference between that couch time and not couch time. In America it actually costs more. Here the price is the same. So I would urge listeners to consider that. If you love shopping, maybe you can actually do the shopping every other week yourself. Some people, try and get beyond the I just need to choose my own tomatoes stage.
Yeah.
Personal beg.
I do want to pick my own tomatoes, but I've outsourced it to my husband.
Wonderful. Or you know what you might do. I've done going to Costco. I am done. I've done it for 20 years. I graduated. I retired from Costco. But every once in a while, I'll run in for 1 or 2 items. Very, very big difference between running in for 1 or 2 items and picking up 30 items. Mm-hmm. So mums, if you're able to outsource the boring, the toilet paper, all the other bits that you don't have to, pick up 5 times and then just pop in for something, very, very big difference.
Yeah.
But yes, shopping plans should be on the computer, or if you're a paper and pen person, paper and pen, or whatever you want, but you should be editing it. You shouldn't be thinking. You should, whenever your shopping day is, look at your lists and just go through it. And that's actually another advantage of shopping online. They will keep your favorites.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that also, you can actually save money that way, which is always a nice bonus, where you see that your favorite item's on sale. You can buy 10, somebody else is bringing it to the house. So the shopping plans, you should know when you go, you should know what you're going with, and you should consider home deliveries at least every other week if you really don't want that. But that, to me, is an easy way to get that 1 hour in.
Yeah. And if you would go to the shops do you take your list with you? Have you got a standardized list that you have ticked the items that you need?
Yes. I knock. The company has a very nice, on their website, I believe they have just a template of a generic shopping list. My children once saw it and they checked off everything. I was like, no. That's not what it's for. It will jog my memory. I'll actually use Google Keep to keep a running list of what I need. I don't go shopping that often anymore. If I do now that I'm in England, I get up early and I go to Costa and I work and I pop into Waitrose. I always pick up 6 or 7 items for the home and I will write them down, only because, and this was Julie Morgenstern, the big organizer in America. Somebody asked her, do you write everything down? She said, I just write down the things I want to remember. So I do, and that goes back to, it takes more effort to be disorganized. It takes more effort for me to go shopping without a list, because I know I'm forgetting something, but I just can't quite pinpoint what it is.
Yeah. Let's move on to laundry plans.
Absolutely. And that's a big question I get, and I'm sure you get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
The thing with laundry is it's very personalized. Some people love it when the cleaning lady does it and don't want to think about it. Some people don't have clean ladies. Some people, if I've got a friend who's a full-time teacher, Sunday she washes everything and she uses stain remover during the week. Other people, like myself, I like to throw a load on in the morning.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's just, I like everything whizzing in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm a morning person. I just like it whizzing. You really have to work out what you do. And I'm actually, for any families here that have more than 3 children, please don't throw everything together and wash it all and then sort it. I bet your mother-in-law never did that, throw 16 children's stuff together, because then you're not laundering, you're sorting. And I have a nice anecdote that I'm quite proud of in my book, where I say to anyone who wants to throw all the laundry together, just next time you go shopping, go to the lady in front of you and just merge all of your shopping together, and then go after you've both paid and work out whose shopping is who and who owes who what. And that is the same when you throw everyone. If you're a family of 3 children and up and you throw 5 people's laundry together, you're going to spend a minute amount of time washing and a large amount of time sorting. So laundry is for laundering. So I just laundry bin in every room. I'm a big believer in sock locks. I don't know what they're called over here, but I buy them on eBay. They're little plastic circles that are joined together that I put the socks in. Okay. Otherwise, you will spend something like £200 a year on lost socks. Even if they were sold in gold, I would probably buy them. And it's really about making a plan, sticking to it, and then trying it. What I've done over time, as children have left the house and things have changed, just written it, put it on the washing machine, and just try and see if it works.
Yeah.
It's like all those systems. You try something, and sometimes it's not as practical in the concrete as it is in the abstract. But throwing a load on in the morning and then just folding it while it's warm, I love to have the children do that task. I think it's a very, very good learning curve for them, that the laundry doesn't just magically come back into the cupboard again.
Yeah.
But that's something that everyone's different, but whatever plan you devise, stick to it.
Yeah. I think laundry is actually quite complex, because of course it's clean. People wear it. It's then half worn or it's dirty. And then if it's dirty, is it whites? Is it darks?
Yes.
Does it need to be washed in hot or not?
Yes,
And with
yes.
stain. So there's so many things. And then of course it has to be hung out. It needs to be dried. It needs to be folded. It needs to be possibly ironed before it all comes back. So you really want to make the flow as easy as possible, because otherwise you get in a whole tiz about it.
Absolutely. My children, we don't really iron that much. It's Miami. I can hang things outside if I need to. I'll use the dryer a little bit more than I would like to. But generally speaking, especially the boy stuff, it flows. It flows.
One thing, listeners, if you have real struggles with laundry, don't keep buying more underwear and more socks, because you just create more problems for yourself.
That's true.
And I've seen it happen. Ingrid, the laundry is such a mess and a nightmare. So I've gone out and bought another 10 pack of underwear, or another 10 packs of socks.
Yes.
Because at least we've got clean now.
Yes.
But that comes dirty and gets lost again, and before you know it, you're looking at mountains of clothes.
I've seen that.
That's very problematic. So you really don't want to have that.
It's very hard.
So a system is super important. And I'm like you. I like to put a load in the morning in the washing machine before I leave, and it runs while I'm away. Exactly. And when I get in, I hang it up, and then I'm like, yes, this is...
It flows. It
flows.
But for some other people who aren't morning people, that would be torturous.
Yeah.
And they would happily give up a different day and just do laundry.
Yeah. A morning plan is your next predictable but boring system.
Right. So there's two. It's a 2-phase morning plan. The first is what the children need to get up and out. And then if all mums are working mums, but does mum have to leave at that exact moment? I leave with the children. So everything has to flow from that. So what basically I try to tell mums, and it's common sense, is the morning starts the night before. Mm-hmm. And really, my goal in the morning is to get my children into the car feeling loved. I won't do laundry if there's 4 minutes left and it's going to make me crazy.
Yeah.
Generally I am a morning person, so I'm lucky in that regard. Things flow. Sundays I get snacks ready ahead of time. Even if I put, when I'm putting dinner, I'll preset my oven. It's all defrosted. It's ready. The morning it's quite simple because it's been done. It's about breakfast. There's no running around with lost items because my children don't get to play on their devices at night if they're not ready to go the next morning. And it's, I've got my own wardrobe is very boring, like we love, there's no drama that I buy extra. And this is one thing I would say to mums listening. I know it's the summertime, the school year's behind us, but before we sneeze, it's going to be back. Do buy extra uniforms. Even if you keep them in the packet and buy one size larger and keep it in the packet, you don't ever want to be running around in the morning when the laundry system is tweaking, or this happened or that happened, or someone spills down their blouse in the morning. Have extra, because it's a little bit extra money, but I pretty much can assure you that one day a year you will be so happy that you have extra on hand.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yeah. My son has got 5 pairs of trousers and 5 shirts, and he doesn't wear a fresh pair every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can cover about 2 weeks in between the washing and the drying and the ironing.
Yeah.
So I have always extra, because otherwise I don't want to be ripping the clothes off them as soon as they come home and go, I need to wash this now. And
I've been in that regard. It took me a while to get to 5, because I was like, oh, that's silly, that's so superfluous. I live in Miami, but I have an English background and I'm quite sensible. But I got to the point, I guess I've made enough mistakes, that's what makes you an expert, where it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. If someone spills cereal, if they spill cereal down their blouse, that's exactly what they're meant to be. And this is another point for the listeners that took me a while to learn. They're the children, you're the adult. Mm-hmm. You're the adult. You're not a magician, but you should allow for the children being children. It's not a case of, oh, why are you so clumsy? They're children. Yeah. Yeah. And even if mum spills her cereal down her blouse, it's okay. But what I'm trying to say is, I guess that is the difference between running a business and running a home, is that there's just so much more human error that we want to account for, and it's not a big deal. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. So leaving home, loved, ready to go, and hopefully with some breakfast in them. Absolutely, if possible. And then that's the morning plan. Of course, the next one is one of my favorite ones: a clear and clean home. I do love a bit of cleaning, listeners. Thank goodness I have a cleaning ladies, the lovely cleaning ladies that help me keep my home clean, and I'm very lucky. Blessing. And that is a blessing, definitely. Yes. But I don't mind cleaning at all myself. I just don't have enough time. So I know, I love cleaning. So why is it so important to have a clear and clean home? And it's not easy anymore. It's not easy. When we grew up, there were 2 kids. I don't remember stuff. We are now living in the age of stuff. Mm-hmm. There are clearance aisles. There's 80% off this. There's buy one get 2 free. I can't even work out the maths. We're living in an age of stuff, and I think it's just because of circumstances. Many of us associate stuff and an abundance with comfort. Mm-hmm. And it's really the opposite. We need less stuff. Yeah. And this sounds very harsh, but most of us could give away 80% of what we own, and not only not miss those items, actually feel quite relieved. Mm-hmm. So the first step, and this, before we can clean, is to get rid of stuff. Yeah. I leave rubbish bags, boxes. I'll hang one practical tool. You can hang a rubbish bag over a hanger right there in the cupboard, and put things in that you don't love. Keep giving things away. And what I found is that the more you give away, the more you realize, with some embarrassment, how they should never really have been bought in the first place. Most of the items that we buy really didn't need to be bought. So the first stage is just realizing that all this stuff is living rent-free in your home. You're taking care of it. Mm-hmm. Second, stop buying things. And I'm sure, I know I have clients this way, and I'm sure you do too, where they just say, I just don't know how it gets in. And you say, but but you're buying it. You know? So less stuff. And then, and this is hard, this is where the professional organisers can come in, is everything should have a home. Everything should have a home. So there's not just stuff laid around. And then you want a time to organise. So if you're rushing out in the morning, that's not the time. Maybe that's the weekend. Maybe that's the evening. Everyone's so different. But it's very important to have a time to put things in place. Use your children. Children are, they're not only the cheapest form of labour, it's so good for them. It's so good for them to put things back in place. Your daughter and sons-in-laws will love you if you don't raise a slob. You know, we're not doing them any favours by coddling them. Let them know where things go.
Yeah. And I think also, very importantly, when you've got a clearer home, it's so much easier to clean.
Absolutely.
Because then your whole daily routine gets easier, your weekly routine gets easier. And we've got some on the declutterhub.com website, we've got some cleaning lists and weekly cleaning and daily cleaning and monthly cleaning.
I'm always asked for those. I'm going to look them up. I'm always asked for those.
Yeah, because you don't have to do deep clean your windows every week. That's nonsense.
Right.
But there is stuff you need to do daily and there's stuff you need to do weekly. And if you start with those, your whole life transforms.
And think of it like a fridge. If your fridge is so crammed full of stuff, I mean, that's a blessing, don't get me wrong, but just practically, you can't get in there to clean it. If your house is full of stuff, how can you go through the mechanics? And yes, an empty home is wonderful to clean, but also another gift, which may be, even greater, is you can think in your own home, which we want. We want our homes to be this hub, this cocoon of safety we come back to, reboot, and then go face the world again. We don't want our homes to overwhelm us.
Yeah.
That's what life's for. Homes are to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And also the children, children also do deserve to be brought up in a home that have rhythms and have just a feeling of safety and pile, of course, a pile here and a pile there, nothing's going to happen. But if children can't find their shoes in the morning, it's not really fair.
Yeah.
Not really fair.
Yeah. I agree. And I think everybody feels a lot happier when you're not frantically every morning running around trying to find, where's my shoes, where's my backpack, where are the keys, where's the...
Absolutely.
It's just so chaotic and it drains the energy. You haven't even started your day and you're in a muddle.
Absolutely.
And it's the same when daily you need to load that dishwasher.
Absolutely.
So that also means daily you need to unload it so you're ready for the next day to have it loaded again.
Absolutely.
And if you start to do those things, those couple of things every day, you see an improvement in your whole time and in your timekeeping and your scheduling.
You know what I tell some mums? I tell them to have a closing ceremony at night. Not at 10 o'clock at night when we're all bamboozled. At 6:30, 7 o'clock. And you can write this down. Some of us, by the end of the day, I know myself, I can't think straight. I just need a list, different children will take turns clearing off the dinner table, and then I'll load the dishwasher, I'll defrost dinner for the next, the protein for the next night, whatever it is, write those things down.
Yeah.
You don't have to be Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has lists. Write that, have a closing ceremony. And sometimes what I tell mums, some mums tell me it takes me so long to close. I say, set your timer for 30 minutes, get through as much as you can, and then call it a day.
So let's talk about this evening schedule. I'm stepping a bit ahead, but that's all right. Let's talk about this evening schedule. So what do you do in the evening besides tidying up after dinner, thinking about dinner the next day, so you need to defrost something? What else is on that list?
So what else is on the list? Let me think. So I will tidy up my car, because like many mums, I spend more time in my car than my house, sadly. I'll tidy up my car. And this is in a relaxed mode.
Yeah.
The children will have homework.
Yeah.
The children get their uniforms ready for the next day. They'll bring in their lunch boxes. They'll get their lunch ready for the next day. It's a general relaxed atmosphere. I try and talk to each child for about 10 minutes by themselves, whether it's out in the garden together, or I'll say, come clean the car, tell me about your day. I try very, very much to. It's very difficult to. I try to, because I want to hear about their day, because sometimes children will keep things on their mind and their heart without telling you. Then you find out 2 weeks later and you feel so bad that you didn't know. Also in the evenings, and this is a big topic that I'm sure you could actually do a whole podcast on, is I minimize iPhone time for myself. I minimize phone time. Now with WhatsApp and the voice notes, I would say 2/3 of items that I would usually get in an email, I now get as a WhatsApp. And while I'm really good about only checking my email in the morning, WhatsApp's constantly there and it's interesting. So in the evenings, my phone is off. I just have to be present with the children. I will let them go on devices when they've done their homework to relax. I don't mind for a short while because all their friends are and it gets so dramatic.
Yeah.
So I don't mind using it as an incentive, 15, 20 minutes. And then I try and read stories to anybody who will still allow me to. I'll see what's going on, who needs what, the gym uniform, the this, the that. The evenings are quite boring. I've really minimized the after school activities. It's too much. It's too chaotic. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think mums are slowly going in that direction where it's not about driving them to different activities every night of the week. It's too much. I tell mums, choose one, choose two that are life-changing, that they love, that's good for them. But I feel like children just need to be off. In the garden, relaxing, reading, just being, recharging. So that's what an evening looks like. Very boring.
Yeah, but I mean, if that way you can get your because you do a lot of prep for the day after.
Prep for the day ahead in a calm and relaxed manner.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting things ready for dinner for the next day, the kids can chop with me, or my girls know how to put lentil soup in the crock pot. They'll, soak the lentils, whatever it is. It's just a rhythm. And I do sometimes go out with a friend once every few weeks. The children are like, oh my goodness. It's like, really? But generally speaking, the evenings are just a bit of a lull.
Yeah. And recharging the batteries as well.
Batteries.
Yeah. Another one of your systems is a way for children to communicate homework deadlines.
Oh, that's so dramatic.
What does that mean?
It just means that if there's a project due next Thursday, could you please tell me? And I have paper calendar, a family paper calendar. Just love paper. And the children have their own calendars, next to their desks. And it will, it depends on their style. Some like paper, some like the dry erase board. Doesn't matter. But I must know when there's a project. I must know, because sometimes, and this is hideous, they have to be driven to friends' houses to do the project, which I think defeats everything. But whatever. Supplies. What do you need? Because, again, I don't want to be surprised and have that drama.
So you instill to them from a young age.
Definitely.
If there's a project due, you need to tell me.
You need to tell me
You
ahead.
can't tell me the night before that you need a white paper for tomorrow.
You can, but you're taking a big risk. If it's in the house, you can have it. I'm not going to punish you, but you're winging it.
Yeah.
And I don't keep an abundance of supplies.
Yeah.
I've seen this with my older children. It's funny because now, my house is a lab, as I've said, so I see that my married boys both sent out the thank you cards right away. They just know what's on the list, let's get it done. Or my daughter, my teenager will quickly order things to get delivered to the house. It's like, well, you tell me to always throw money at stress. And I'm like, but you made the stress, But I see this way, and the children do. Like one of my children went to overnight camp this summer, and she knew from last year, if she packs a week early, she has no stress, and she wanted that again this year. So I think, it's a mixture of wanting the family rhythm to flow a certain way and also to instill in them those values. So it's easier for them to run their lives.
Yeah. And I think it's the same with, and that's the next thing as well, school supplies. We're doing it now because it's summer now. They're going to start back up in September here in the UK. So we're now looking at, what do we need to make sure that you have before the summer?
Absolutely. School supplies are a hot item. I keep pencils on hand. With my older children, I used to make them responsible for their pencils. And I think that was a bit harsh, Now, as they get out the car, I hand them a pencil. because why not? Maybe I'm a bit softer. That is the bottom 3, But I think it just starts their day off. They're not fumbling for a pencil. School supplies, I will, I follow the lists. It's barbaric. I will load up on some, especially if it's like 90% off sale. That's good clutter. I'll keep, but I won't buy 100 of something. This is a tip that parents might like. When I see a 90% off sale on school supplies, this is what I did last year. I was in a shop called Target that is just wonderful. You're lucky you don't have it here just because it's so hard to resist. And as it happened, I walked into the aisle just as they were reducing really good notebooks for school down by 90%. It's called 5-star. It's just a great quality. And I literally bought the shelf of it because they were like 9 cents.
Yeah.
And I just donated them to the school. Kept 10 for myself. And I spent like £9 being a wonderful person. So there is sometimes a way to buy the clearance items and not carry them in your house for 10 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to, it's just so much fun when you get those deals. So buy it, give it away, But yes, school supplies, I will keep enough, but not tons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the children have to know.
And probably all in the same place, right?
Yes, not a question. Not a question.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to hopefully share with my clients as well. Let's not have pens and paper and notepads and things in 12 different places.
Yes.
Let's create one cupboard,
one cupboard
where it all lives.
Wonderful.
So if you actually need to find something,
right there.
if something is run out, there's one place to go and look for it. If it's not there, you're going to probably have to buy something new.
Wonderful.
But if you've got everything everywhere, you don't know what you have anymore.
Absolutely.
And it's too hard.
You know what I say in my book that there's a line that I like. It's all about retrieval. If you have 10 bottles of glue somewhere, you really don't have them if you don't know where it is. Better to have 3 in that cupboard you're talking about than 10 dotted around that nobody can find.
Yeah. And I think then you also lose a lot of money. Because then you have to keep buying it over and over and over again.
Absolutely. And it's, I'm getting more financially aware now that my kids are a bit older. Before I would just, for me, what was more important than spending money was losing sanity, because it was just, I was so outnumbered, And now I'm looking more, and it makes so much more sense to buy things on sale, put them in a container, have it labeled or not, just have a transparent container and know where things are. I'm really, really becoming much more of a follower of that.
Yeah.
And also what I would tell mums is see which supplies the kids use again and again and again. What I did this year, and I'm 25 years into parenting, I bought on sale, of course, like a pack of 20 sellotapes. Because everyone was always asking, and I just made a really pretty bowl. It was from IKEA, and I just filled it with sellotapes. And the children just knew where to go for sellotapes. Nobody asked me the whole year where sellotape was. But what I would say to yourself is designate a space, and when that space is up, it's up.
Yeah.
And if you've made a mistake and bought some folders that were on sale or whatever, you can always donate them and fill that space with markers or felt tips, however it is. Just because you bought something once doesn't mean it's stuck forever.
Yeah. The next one I'm intrigued about. You call it Parent CEO Time.
Yes.
As one of your boring systems. I'm like, maybe this is very important, I think.
I mean, I just find that aside from running my business, running not the home, just the children, just all their appointments and everything does involve time. So my first half an hour of work time will be about the children. Who needs what, who needs new shoes, who's got an appointment I have to make, which forms are missing. Nowadays all the paper, there's so many forms the children need. And if I write it down the minute I think of it in my focus finder, and there'll just be a list of what the next things that children need, I'll do half an hour. I really need over half an hour a day to do that. And I think it makes it much easier. Otherwise, you're filling out, camp forms haphazardly and you're forgetting things. And like you say about saving money, if you do the form and you get it in, you get the early bird special. It's more sensible. Any of these systems, just to try and sell the boring, it's true, you do save money, because if you know you've got chicken every Monday night, back to our meal plans, you can buy the family pack and freeze half. And if you know where your supplies go, you can buy the big pack of pencils, because you know that the children take every day. And the same with all their forms and appointments. You can get let's say you've got appointments that you need after the summer. You can get the best appointment that you want now, the exact time and the exact day that you want, if you book it a month ahead.
Yeah.
So I do run, and that came back to the book that I ended up writing for myself. It really is a mini business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want the dentist appointment at when I book the day before. I want it.
I know.
It works.
What made me laugh out loud, absolutely, is that when you said kids have so many body parts.
It's so true. And it's funny with the fingernails. Now they all cut their own. But I remember, that I used to cut fingernails on a Sunday, and whoever wasn't within shouting distance didn't get cut that week. So my friends would say sometimes, "Oh dear, I guess somebody was busy outside on Sunday." It's just, there's so many bits.
Yeah.
Just the dental checkups and the well checkups and this and that. I just find that if I put in, and obviously I have more children, but even if a mother with less children, twice or 1 hour a week just sits down, all the forms, the research, they want to do gymnastics, but where and how, just those types of things. If you formulate it into a list with a fixed time, it becomes manageable.
Yeah. Yeah. We discussed evening schedules, so that is done. The last one you say is quality time with children.
Yes. I think that sometimes, and I know I've been guilty of this, children are things that have to be fed and bathed and kept safe, but we don't often get to spend time with them. We don't get always time to parent them, which ironically is our job.
Yeah.
That's another podcast that you could just do on parenting. And to me, it's being with a child. There's different ways to, and your way of spending time might not be their way. Some children just want to talk to you. And I know if I'm busy in the kitchen, the last thing I want is someone telling me about their day if I'm trying to remember what I'm making, But just to talk to them, go for a walk around the block. It's very nice side by side. Just let them say what's on their mind. You will be amazed. Some children don't want to go for a walk. So one of my children I go for a car wash with, because they like just to go, a drive-through car wash. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Phones away and you're just listening. Some children I sit and colour with. They love to colour with you. It doesn't have to be forever, but 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The more often than not, I don't parent when I'm grouchy. That hangry we spoke about.
Yeah.
If I'm in that zone where I'm just done, or I've had a hard day, or a client just took all my patience, I will be gracious, I will be wonderful, but I will not put myself in that zone. You have to know.
Yeah.
But I do think it's something that many of us miss out, myself included in my earlier years, just because sometimes, and I hope my children don't hear this, sometimes it feels like children are something to check off your list. Fed, homework done, teeth brushed, off, and there are some nights that's all I can manage.
Yeah.
And there are other nights where I can go around the block. That's where if you've got a dog, it's wonderful. It's a built-in excuse. But it's that thing. It's not about their projects, their uniform, their nails, their breakfast, their teeth, their appointments. It's about them, seeing them, not as a buddy. I tell my children often, I'm not your friend, I'm your mummy. You've only got one mummy. But just to connect with them, because how can you effectively parent if you're not connected?
Yeah, yeah. I know parenting is, I think, the hardest thing in the whole wide world.
I would never give a parenting class until my kids, are about 50 years old and everyone's gone through everything. Yeah.
Well, maybe I think all these systems actually it sounds a bit crazy, like we're telling you to have all these systems. But the funny thing is, when you start to implement these systems one by one and you find out that they're working, you actually do get more time.
Not a question. That goes back to what we said at the beginning about it taking more effort to be disorganized.
Yeah.
If you're running around ragged and worrying what's for dinner and where are the children's shoes and why didn't I buy enough blouses and why have you got a project tomorrow and not telling me, you're living in that reactive zone we spoke about, which is fine. That's how I started my whole career. You just don't want to live in it forever.
Yeah.
And if there are mums out here who don't have any of these 10 in place, you're in a wonderful position. I was there. I was there. You are in a wonderful, wonderful position. Just like we said, take on one. Take on one. You will save time. You'll save sanity. You'll save money. You'll save everything. And if it was simple, you would be doing it already. It takes time sometimes to do it one way, to realize this may have worked with one kid, but it's not working with two kids. Or this would have worked if my child was a different personality, you know? So, you know, it does take thinking and planning, but yes, these plans will set mums free.
Yeah.
I believe.
If people want to read your book, Rivka, how can they?
How lovely. Thank you. So on Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon, Frazzled to Focused.
So if you're interested in Rivka's book, go to Amazon and type in from Frazzled to Focused.
And also my Focus Finder, my paper planner pad that I did an experimental run of, 250, and they soared off. And this summer, I am getting it back up and running. Anybody who wants to hear more about that, if they just go to my website, So Be Organised, but I'm from America now, so it's with a Z. And you sign up there for the email, I'll be sure to let everyone know when the Focus Finders are on sale.
Listeners, we will put all these links as well in the show notes. So
Lovely.
and on the website as well, we always have the podcast on the website, declutterhub.com. So if you want to know more about Rivka, you can definitely find out more about her and about the book and about the planner. So that's it for this episode, listeners.
Lovely.
We hope you've all enjoyed listening and are inspired to take action. Thanks so much, Rivka, for being our guest.
So welcome.
And I've loved talking to you and finding out more about your 10 predictable but boring systems every family needs. Listeners, I hope you've learned a lot as well today, and Rivka's examples will be helpful for you and you can implement them in your own home. Like I said, if you'd like to know more about Rivka, we will post a link in the show notes along all her website details. Thanks so much for listening today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Declutter Hub podcast. Check out declutterhub.com for more inspiration and don't forget to tune in next week.